Good evening, friends. My name is Gaurav, and it's a joy to be with all of you sharing the wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda this evening. We had an interesting question come in last time, and that was, can we achieve inner peace that lasts forever, considering the amount of negativity we are surrounded with? And it's an excellent question, very pertinent for our day and age. And I want to say that not only have saints and sages in the past exemplified that, those who were betrayed, persecuted, crucified, but yet were able to respond with kindness, with positivity. But I've been recently reading of some remarkable men and women who lived not too long ago, in fact, during the World War II, when faced as they were, as with, you can say, the epitome of negativity, daily they were in those concentration camps where disease, death, torture, suffering was a part and parcel of their lives. But despite that fact, among those hundreds of thousands of people, there were a few people who decided that they would not let that get to them. And they prove a very inspiring, you can say, example for all of us to follow. And to remember that it is always a choice we have. A choice to respond either with positivity or with negativity to whatever life brings us. And I want to give a small analogy to answer this question that we have of whether we can have lasting peace even as we are surrounded with negativity. And so imagine that you are standing by the shore of a lake or an ocean, and you have to get across to the other side of this ocean. And how do you do that? The only catch here is that that lake or that ocean is full of sharks, ferocious sharks that are after you. And how do you do that? How do you cross that ocean of sharks? Well, one way is you can say, well, let me meet this problem on the level of this problem and let me swim. I'm a good swimmer. Let me swim through this ocean of sharks and deal with them as they come. Or you can say, how can I think a little differently? How can I perhaps raise myself? And what do we often do when we are faced with a situation like that? We take a boat or we take a ship. And when you take that, you go through that ocean calmly, almost unaware of those sharks. And what are you doing? How are you able to sail through that ocean of negativity in our case? Because now you have a fortress, an armor of positivity around you, which does not allow that negativity to penetrate to the core. And all of this is based on the theory of magnetism. As Paramahansa Yogananda ji explained, that negativity has its own magnetism, as do other qualities, habits, and actions in our life. And what is magnetism? Magnetism is simply a momentum that a quality gains when it is repeated, a thought gains when it is thought often. And he said, just as negativity has its magnetism and power, and so be aware, don't play with negativity, don't play with fire. He said positivity too has its own magnetism, which is much greater than negativity. Well, you might ask, then why is it that we often get affected by negativity in our workplace, in family, from negative people? It is because right now we have not made our positive magnetism stronger than the negative magnetism around us. And so what are some of the ways in which we can build that positive magnetism, that fortress, that armor around us, so that we can go through this ocean of life without being unaffected by that negativity? The most direct way, as Yogananda ji himself said, was to have a daily, deep, regular practice of meditation. What meditation does is, in his own words, he said, meditation allows you to carry a portable paradise within. Beautiful words. A portable paradise of those qualities that we are after, of calmness, of love, of stillness, which you can carry anywhere and in all circumstances. I recently had an interesting experience in this regard when I had gone with some friends on an outing to a place of archaeological significance, but that also happens to have a rich spiritual heritage, a spiritual past. And as we went to that place, as is to be expected with such a place, there were tons and tons of tourists who had also come to that place. And so there were children from vacation from school, parents who had come, just simple tourists, I guess, who wanted a good picture among the ruins. And through all of this, our group had a wonderful guide who was explaining these fascinating things about this site. And I was very deeply engrossed in it, but every so often these tourists, these throngs of people making a chaos, the security guards howling at those people to follow the rules, it was just, disturbing me. Well, the day went on, but just before the end of the day, I thought to myself, oh, just before going back, let me sit for a few minutes in meditation and see if I can, go inside and feel some of the spiritual power that this place was known to have. And to my own amazement, in a few moments, maybe 2-3 minutes, I felt myself just feeling a deep welling up of joy. And the joy increased and increased and increased. And in 5-10 minutes that I was sitting there, all of a sudden I thought to myself, there are still people around me who are shouting as loud as they can be. The guard is still howling at them. Children are still rushing about me, brushing aside, brushing me. And I thought how wonderful that now I am in a totally different state of consciousness where I'm feeling that joy, where I'm feeling inner peace, that none of this can touch me. And that is what Yogananda ji said is the fruit of meditation. He said by dipping into that experience of peace, of calmness, of joy, through our own practice of meditation, he said we learn in time to stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. And so that is the real practical value of meditation. And start with 5-10 minutes. Start what is doable. But you will see in time that practice will you will become so enraptured in that practice that outwardly you will start to notice affect you less. And how does meditation work? It works very scientifically, as research is now proving that we focus in meditation at the point between the eyebrows, which is our prefrontal lobe, which science has now proven is the part of the brain which stimulates these qualities of love, positivity, calmness. And so we are doing something very scientific when we have the practice of meditation. Also, what you can do is, as Yogananda ji said, we use our practice of meditation as an experiment ground for practicing these qualities, experiencing these qualities of peace and calmness. But then all of us have to go out in our day, and that is where our real battle begins, when we go to the workplace and perhaps we have some negative colleagues or a boss, when we are at home and we have relatives who are not understanding, or friends who are just gossiping or who pull our energy down. How do we, in those moments, practice what we aspire towards? And that is a good time, friends. And I would suggest this, that try wearing fresh lenses. We've been viewing the world in a certain way right from childhood, and that is based on our interaction with the world. As we go through life, often the harmful experiences, negativity from people, we sort of sometimes close our heart and we shrink in our sympathies. And then through that, we view the world with lenses of suspicion, perhaps our own negativity. But I would suggest that try now, even in small ways, to wear a different lens of positivity. And perhaps try in small ways. Maybe show an act of kindness to a neighbor who's perhaps very neutral, or to a domestic help you may have, or to a colleague at work who's a friend. But then in time, see if you cannot take this practice a notch higher and practice it when you face that negativity actively, perhaps, from a certain person. And one good way to do this is to take an affirmation, which is a simple phrase, which you repeat to yourself to ingrain the truth of what you are hoping to become. And so one affirmation, which I want to read for you now, and you can pick any affirmation of your own. This is an affirmation written by Swami Kriyananda on this topic. And this is the affirmation: I behold the world with eyes of calmness and faith, for I know that as I view others, so will I become myself. Beautiful affirmation. As I view others, so I will become myself. Have an inner practice of meditation which can help you to touch that inner peace, because ultimately, as that question was, how do we get peace? Not just temporarily, but some peace that lasts forever. That can come only with our own inner experience. And then with that peace in your heart, radiate that peace outward to everyone. There is two ways to combat darkness, negativity of all kinds. You can either deal with it with a negative reaction, closing your heart, shrinking your sympathies, or you can open your heart wide open and you can say, I refuse to be hurt by this negativity. I refuse to shrink my own sympathies by this. And that is the way of the saints, of the sages, and one that will truly bring us lasting inner peace. Thank you. Joy to you, friends.